What's going on today? We're talking about 7 techniques to ensure that you will reach muscle failure every single time. Let's get into it. If you ever feel like you're unsure if you got the most out of your exercise, going to muscle failure is probably the best technique that's been utilized in the last 20 years. I'm a really big fan of this. It really helps from a measuring standpoint. So I know that I've actually really truly met the end of that exercise. And I know that the next time I come to the gym, I'm going to be stronger. The issue is most people are unsure if they've truly reached muscle failure, or the brain is very crafty and tricking us that we actually reached muscle failure. So there are additional techniques that we can practice that can help us in ensuring that we're reaching muscle failure. So who am I? My name's Andy J, and I'm on a mission to help millennial men feel our best. Welcome to the Brotherhood. Again, today we're looking at the techniques around muscle failure and how to ensure you reach muscle failure. Now, also, if you stay to the end, I'm going to teach an additional technique that I found to be really effective at not only shortening your workout, but always ensuring that you're reaching muscle failure. Let's get into it. One other quick thing is drop a comment below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'm curious to hear what techniques you use to reach muscle failure. If you have any suggestions, please drop them in the comments because, again, we're building community here and your comments are deeply valued. So for those that are unfamiliar with the technique of muscle failure or bringing your muscle to a high fatigue point, like I said before, it's basically it's a technique that we use to maximally know that we've reached our endpoint, because when you try to move the weight, you won't be able to do so in that moment. If you wait a couple minutes, you'll be able to do a rep or two again, but in that moment, your musculature has reached that high fatigue point and you're not able to actually go any further. This can act as a great tool for measurement to know that you've reached a higher level of challenge. And so, like, for example, if like the previous week you hit 8 reps and then this week you reached failure at 9 reps, you almost objectively that you progressed or have gotten stronger the next week. So it's a really great tool for measurement. So, and if you're curious to get some more background on this paper right here and this paper right here is basically going in depth using meta-analysis, looking at multiple studies to show some of the effectiveness of muscle failure. I also want to say, as a caveat, you can do this every single time, but you also want to monitor your level of fatigue, because it is more challenging to push yourself to muscle failure, and you don't always have to go to muscle failure. So if you use this technique, there are times when you may want to skip this to sort of do a deload period. But for me, I find that most workouts, I will go to failure on most exercises just to ensure that I've challenged the musculature to its deepest extent. Here are the 7 techniques to ensure you're reaching muscle failure. Experiment with these, try different ones out and see how they go. The first one is pushing yourself to failure, but then pushing for an additional 10 seconds. So basically you're doing the exercise and on the last rep, you try to, through the positive phase, push up through that exercise, but you can't go any longer. What you want to do, instead of just simply bringing the weight down, you want to keep trying to move the weight. Don't just hold it. You want to keep trying to move the weight to complete that rep and push for at least 10 more seconds. You're either be able to squeeze out another rep, or you'll push yourself for another 10 seconds, challenging your muscles even deeper and ensuring you reach muscle failure. The second technique that I think is kind of cool is what's called half reps. And I actually heard about this a little bit from Sam Sulek, but it's been used for a long time, but it's kind of gotten popularized because of Sam Sulek. So anyway, what you want to do is you're pushing the weight up, and then if you reach that point of muscle failure, bring the weight down, but don't quit. Try to push it up. And even if it's like these half reps or quarter reps, do a handful of those. Sometimes I'll utilize like maybe 5 or 6 or 7. There's no set number. And I'll just do that to just kind of check in with my body and make sure that I've really reached that high fatigue point. There is some literature, I don't have it in front of me, but I have seen some literature that supports that doing these half reps do allow deeper stimulus, which will add to greater levels of strength and hypertrophy. So there are some good benefits there for sure. The third technique you could try to do is what's called drop sets. So basically what you do is, as you're pushing the weight and you go to failure, quickly bring the weight down in a safe way and then drop the weight by about 20 or 30%, and then try to attempt another rep. You may be able to do that, or you may not, but the fact that you can try to challenge yourself in that way will ensure deeper muscle stimulus and probably a more accurate experience of having true muscle failure in that moment. The fourth method is basically what's called rep assist on the positive to ensure that you're failing on the negative. So what this means is when you're pushing the weight up, that's the positive phase, and when the weight comes back, that's the negative phase. And so when you're trying to push the weight up and you think you reach failure, if you have a buddy or a spotter to help you move the weight through the rest of the positive phase, and then try to control the weight on the negative. If you can't, or it's very, very challenging, that's a pretty good indication that you've reached true muscle failure. Another technique, the fifth recommendation to ensure you reach deep state of muscle failure, is to basically wait 30 seconds after you've completed the rep and then try another set. And you'll probably be able to do 1 or 2 more reps, but just the act of doing that is going to challenge your musculature deeper and bring you to a more true state of muscle failure. The sixth recommendation is doing what's called a pre-exhaust. So usually what it is you do some sort of isolative exercise into a compound exercise. So for example, you can do like leg extension first, really fatigue yourself out, and then go directly into doing a squat. And what that does is it will fatigue out more of the quadriceps, for example, force the other muscles to work a little bit harder and cause a deeper state of fatigue in that exercise. And the last one I've written down here is partial reps, and I realize it's very similar to what I was doing with the half reps, what I was talking about earlier. But basically, just to kind of go over this one again, it's when you go to that state of failure, you basically bring the weight down, and then you try to attempt another full rep. If you cannot, you just continually attempt that, even if they're quarter reps or half reps, until you can no longer really push the weight up at all. That's going to really ensure that you've reached a true state of muscle failure. So for staying to the end, I'm sharing this bonus of basically this other technique that I found to be really useful called the Myo-Reps technique. I actually made a whole other video on this, but the short end of it is to be able to perform this is you basically, first you start with 15 reps, and then each set after that is you do a set of 4 reps. And you continually do that until you can no longer complete 4 reps in a set. This is another great technique to ensure that you achieve the muscle failure, but also it's a way to potentially shorten your workout. For a more in-depth explanation on the Myo-Reps, check out my video for that. I'll try to link it at the end of this video, but that can also be an interesting technique you can play around with to make your workouts not as boring and ensure you're getting a deeper state of challenge, fatigue, and also failure to get maximum benefit from the exercises, so you're not wasting your time in the gym. So I hope you found that useful. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, drop some comments. Let me know your thoughts on trying different techniques to challenge your muscles a little bit more deeper. I'm always keen to experiment myself. So let me know in the comments. And I think that's it for now. So again, thanks so much for sticking to the end, and I will talk to you soon.